Welcome back to another hour of Scotch Hour. I'm Noah.
And I'm Jesse.
All right, this is episode 147. This evening we will be discussing the Kilchoman small batch number 7. From there, we'll have our shout outs and get it togethers. Our restaurant review being Meatball Eatery. It's, I would guess, a revisit.
Zigzag Burger. And then from there, we'll have our Smarter Challenge, which is to watch the movie Deep Cover and relate it to kind of like what's going on in today's society, maybe. All right. Before we get started, jumping into the Scotch, which I'm looking forward to doing, just a quick thing, saying thank you to all of the YouTube and Rumble subscribers. We greatly appreciate all of you. And to all the subscribers onto the many different podcast platforms that you can listen to us on. We greatly appreciate all of you as well. Please like, share, and subscribe, and leave some comments down below. And with that, let's get ready to try this Scotch.
Scotch Review.
All right. This week's Scotch, the Kilchoman small batch number 7, limited to just 1,278 bottles, 50% ABV. It is an Islay single malt Scotch, but Kilchoman really wants to emphasize that it is Islay's only single farm single malt Scotch, where they do all the work growing the barley, producing the Scotch from their own farm. The Scotch distillery is relatively new, opened in 2005 by Anthony Wills and his wife Kathy. First new distillery built on the island of Islay for over 124 years. Islay is known for its peated scotches, and from our previous experience, this is no different. And Anthony Wills set out to produce something that he thought had been lost, and that was that farm to distillery, full encompassed Scotch. That really, I don't know many, if any, other distilleries really do much of that, besides maybe the Bruichladdich with their Octomore scotches, where I know they do, but they're not growing it. They're just buying it from Islay as well. With that, man, I'm super excited. We've tried some of their other scotches, and they have all been pretty damn good. The Sanag, the Machirbe, and the Casado. They do have a full range. They have a range even of these small batches. Looks like from our research, they put one out most years, if not every year. And this 7th is bound to be a treat. Islay, of course, among some of our most favored scotches. Although it is interesting, the more we continue to enjoy all of Scotland and the scotches, the lowlands have some interesting ones, although I can't say that any of those have come close to being a 10 for me. But the highlands have done great things, and Islay as well. So without further ado, anything else you want to say about Kilchoman before we run into the tasting?
Well, with Kilchoman, they do have 3 basic tours. They have the classic. The thing with the classic tour, it's just like the basic, like run-of-the-mill, kind of check out the operations type of thing. They allow children to attend this tour. So you have adults, they're 10 Great British pounds. Children are 5 Great British pounds. At the end of it, adults do get to try 1 dram. Then they have what's called the Limited Editions Tour. That's about 2 hours long. And here you get a Tudor tasting. It's for adults only, and it's about 40 Great British pounds. And then they have the Roving Tasting Tour, where you go to different parts of the distillery. And in each different area of the distillery, they have a dram for you to taste. And that's 1.5 hours there for that one. But other than that, I think you nailed everything on there about this, about Kilchoman. And did you say how many how many bottles were done yet?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I wasn't paying attention. Here's the reason why I think I wasn't paying attention, because when you said it was like the I think the newest one that's been built on there for a while.
In Isla, yeah.
Yeah, in Isla. At first, instead of saying newest, I think they said nudist. I'm like, how are they going to have a bunch of nude people working at
This
a distillery?
is the best distillery ever. Going for every one of their tours. Put me in for the tour of duty, please.
So at first, I'm like, wait, did he say that? Like, oh, wait, no, he said newest.
All right, with that, so this Kilchoman is aged in 3 types of casks. So the first one being 70% of it aged in ex-bourbon, 5% in, that's right, ex-Oloroso sherry cask. So do the math, 25% for that third and final type of cask. And that is a recharred red wine cask. And that has done some wonderful things for us in the past. The box itself, it's actually a great color. I think it looks fantastic. They've done a nice job in the past. It is textured. Color-wise, they don't shy away. The bottle itself is one of those shorter and stouter bottles. It does list on here, which I do love, particularly on the back. Batch number 7, 1,278 bottles for this batch. Talks about the cask influence. And here it is saying that the bourbon barrel cask 70%, sherry cask 5%, and that's right. They call them STR casks for the recharred X red wine at 25%.
And these are unfiltered and no added color, correct?
Unfiltered, unadded color. And again, 50% ABV. And with that, it's not that it's non-filtered, it's non-chill filtered.
Non-chill filtered.
So they don't rush that process.
And, here, like, maybe my eyesight is wrong or whatever, but is the color of the box like a flat burnt orange?
It is.
And it seems like to me, like, the color of the box almost matches the color of the scotch in the bottle. I mean, from my distance, maybe. Oh, okay.
The lighting's a little
maybe
different.
Maybe it's because of the lighting.
The depth and shadows behind.
Okay. All right.
But it is for sure looking like a great colored scotch. As previous.
Wooden top? What do you think? Guess.
Absolutely.
Press or...
I'm going wooden cork. Top, solid, real cork.
I agree.
All right. Nice, solid foil embossed upon the top. As we open that up, definitely a solid wood topper. And with that also stamped with an ink or some paint. Non-press cork. That is the real deal. Solid. This is a hefty mushroom top on this cork here.
It's short but got girth.
That's right.
Sorry. I must have cut you out there.
It's all good. All right.
All right. Well, I guess it's now time for us to do our tasting notes at our warp speed.
All right. Without further ado, cheers.
Okay, the Kilchoman small batch number 7. First of all, I'm gonna say, like, every expression that we've tried so far, this is our 4th one from Kilchoman. For being such a young distillery, I've really enjoyed, I think, every one of their expressions that we've tried thus far. And this is no different here. I really enjoyed this one. First thing I'll point out is you could fool me. I didn't think that this was 50% ABV. I didn't really get like a really like that burn that you get from some alcohol. So to me, it's really mellow. But I'll start off with the presentation here. First off, I've come to expect this type of bottle design from Kilchoman. I like it. It's definitely well-made glass, has a nice wood topper. They do real cork. The The box is I actually like the color. I like that flat burnt orange or whatever that color is.
I'm gonna call it camel.
Camel, okay.
Like sexy camel though, like the sexy camel coat.
I like the color. So overall, I gave that a 4 out of 5. Like you got to do like something extra special though to get that 5 out of 5, especially after we had that Grand Reserva. The color here I put the color was a nice light straw gold that you get during the summertime, and I think it really depends on like how the light hits it, because sometimes it looks like it might have a darker hue to it, but when you kind of hold it up to the light, it's just really a nice light gold right there. And you can tell that it was unchilled filter because you see a little bit of particles in there and stuff like that. So I really liked it. I like the coloring, so I gave it a 5 out of 5. The nose, the nose for me, I got cedar and leather with strawberries and cherries all in there, and it kind of blended really nice. It's kind of weird because like when I put it in my hands, I kind of warmed it up. I really got the cedar with some slight smoke that kind of like transitions into leather, but out of the glass, I got a lot more of the strawberries and cherries. So, but the nose I really liked. It wasn't the high point for me. Actually, that was the low point for me, and I gave it 26 out of 30. Next up here is the palette, which to me was it was like blackberry jam with strawberry cream. That's like there's like the slight creaminess in there. It's light bodied. You start off like with this blackberry jam flavor. You do get and then to me it transitions into a strawberry cream. There's a little bit of like a hint of leather in there too, but it's very mild. But then after it transitions right there, that sweetness from the blackberry jam into the strawberry cream with the subtle hints of leather, it then all of a sudden I get this campfire kind of flavor, which then dissipates to this nice, clean, lingering spearmint flavor in my mouth. And to really sum it up, the way I said it here is that this is a simple, light, and refreshing with nice sweetness and lingering spearmint. That's kind of like how I would sum it up. But as far as the palette and the finish, I gave them both 27 points each, which gives me a grand total of 89 points. When I take it to a black tie affair, not exactly not exactly what I would want as far as a
long and strong, baby.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the black tie affair. However, I would take it to like an alumni event. I would take it to a game night. And I think it has a place on my shelf. I do like the taste of it. I like how it has like this sweetness with a slight bit of leather and smoke in there. And I love the smell of the cedar from the nose. And then I love how like it finishes really, really light and clean with that lingering spearmint, which I don't know, makes it refreshing. To me, this would almost be, and I would rarely ever say this, but it's like a dessert scotch for me. It just has like enough sweetness and it's just refreshing enough on the palate that I could see enjoying this after a meal and as like a dessert for me.
Before the meal, during the meal, after the meal. All right. Well, for myself, I'm right there with you. Presentation, Kilchoman has not let us down again, but it's not the next level. I do love the solid wood topper that has been embossed. The bottle, which has I'm guessing a wax seal from the distillery. They've done a nice job. They continue to do great jobs with things like the glass having Isla's Farm Distillery, impressed upon it. Solid cork, still only a 4 out of 5 for presentation. The color, as Noah mentioned, natural color, non-chill filtered. For me, This is the farmer's daughter, the blonde farmer's daughter at the beginning of summer. It's not quite just straw gold. It has a little bit of that brownish depth before, whether it's fun in the sun or that sun spray they put in the hair, or just the natural been out enjoying life in the sun that lightens it up. This is that farmer's daughter early summer hair color. On the nose, first thing, leather through and through, and I love it. I dig leather, not the Italian leather that we recently experienced, but still more of a suede, more of that suede, and that is followed by dried cherry and that charred cedar. And at first I didn't get the char, but then going back in, it is the cedar smell is there, but it is absolutely a smoky, charred cedar smell. So we got the leather, the cherry, the cedar, and that cherry is fantastic because it's not overly sweet, but it's absolutely present. The nose for me, a 26. The color was a 5. Nose tied for my low point. Palette, absolutely the victor. Oh, you mentioned blackberry jam. I'm going blackberry jelly because the blackberry is very sweet, but it's also creamy, smooth, but not to the point where it's necessarily creamy. It's that type where you spread it on the bread, and as you're eating it is just delicious blackberry jelly. Then for me, jumps in the leather. The leather's great. The strawberries for me, flambéed strawberries, where you can almost still feel the seeds as you move it through your mouth, but the strawberry is warm. Again, you mentioned that creamy. It's not like a vanilla cream, but it is absolutely smooth and warm in the sense of that sort of creamy where it's been mixed like a jelly, but that flambéed strawberries, delicious. Finishing with, and this is the end of the palette, spearmint and oak. So for me, a 27 on the palette. The true finish, man, after all that delicious blackberry, leather, flambéed strawberry, spearmint and oak, I get more cherry, and the cherry is delicious. And we've experienced that a lot lately. I get more leather, and then comes in a campfire smoke type of sensation, but it's not a dirty one. It's still clean. The spearmint hasn't dissipated. It is still present. But what I will say is at the very tail end of this very long finish is a little petrichor. A little bit of that earthy finish sometimes we get from a Barolo or a fine French wine, but a Barolo from Italy, that earthiness where you're almost sucking on a rock. And I love it. But it still finishes at a 26 for me for a grand total of 88. Black tie, I'm right there with you. It's just not sexy enough. However, it is fantastic for a game night or a party. You bring it in. You're not trying to impress. It's not overstated. It is simple. And I think that would be Kilchoman's one opportunity, the opposite of the Macallan. If anything, one of the things I love about the Macallan is in ways they almost overstate, but never to an extreme that it's ridiculous. This is just a little bit different. So not for the black tie. Yes, for a game night. Place on my shelf. Absolutely. If nothing else, to really talk about the fact that this is a farm distillery where they grow the barley, they produce the scotch, they're doing all the work, and it is in Islay. So it is a competitor, as you mentioned, 2005. So we're talking about almost 200 years younger than some of our other favorites, the Obins or Lagavulin, the Ardbegs, that have been around for centuries or close to centuries. And this is doing a fantastic job, really giving an impression about the possibilities otherwise.
It's time for our shout outs.
One shout out. So there is a new group of individuals flocking away from, relocating out of San Francisco and California. Can you guess what this newest demographic of individuals that would be moving out of San Francisco and California would be?
Illegals?
No, those with educations, especially higher educations, knowing that California partially...
I guess I was a little hopeful there.
Yeah. So they're flocking in still. They just got all free healthcare. Why would they leave? Everyone else that realizes...
Seeing how much of a shithole it is, and then they're like, maybe we should just go back.
No, the ones that are intelligent, the educated, and especially the higher educated are the ones saying, I am out because I understand this is non-sustainable. This is not a sustainable model for this.
I think those people should be, if they voted Democrat, they should stay there.
I don't think that they necessarily do, but I don't disagree with you. If they voted them in,
They voted for these policies. They should live with those policies.
Yeah. I don't know if they all did, though. I think the higher educated typically do. Well, you know what? Maybe they are the ones who voted it in, just never actually thought it was going to happen. Maybe they went against something because they wanted to be popular with the other people they graduated with. I don't know. I literally don't know. One of the things I know is to be a leader or to be strong, you have to often go against your friends and the norm. And I agree with you at this point. Like if they voted these people in that created these policies, now they're screwing all the people who don't have an education or a higher education. A lot of them are minorities, by the way, that got these educations. But with that, it is interesting, though, those educated are saying, hey, this is not a sustainable model. Let's get out of California, especially San Francisco. So shout out. You guys are smart. Get out before it's too late.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're really smart yet.
Too late.
So, I don't have any shout outs this week.
No shout outs?
No shout outs this week.
All right.
At least none that I can
see. What you can do is you can turn to Get It Together into a shout out. It's kind of what I did. All right. Well, do you want to go get together first? Or you want me to jump right in?
My Get It Together is all these Palestinian protesters for what they did for the protests that they did in DC, where they had to evacuate the Congress, and they started I guess almost swaying. They said the defense at the White House was starting to sway back and forth, so it was starting to get pretty crazy there. I have no problem with protesting, but I think if you're trying to protest something that you're in disagreement with our government, which believe me, there's a lot of things I'm in disagreement with our government. I don't think the point is to sit there and do destruction and threaten people is going to actually get them to make them change. Possibly, but maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe it worked in their country.
Maybe it did, but I don't think they probably should be in our country. But I think our founding fathers, I'll put it this way, our founding fathers, when they set it up for people to come over to the United States, they said that we had to be very careful on the people who we let into our country, because if they didn't have the same values and thoughts as we did already, that they could become a virus in our system.
COVID-19, and there it is.
There you go. Yeah, so, anyways, I just think that that and the BLM stuff and all that stuff, when they're destroying stuff and saying that those were peaceful riot or peaceful protests, that's obviously not true. I mean, you don't have to go around destroying property to get your word out.
I agree. It's interesting how one can be a peaceful protest that's evacuating Congress, and another one is a total violation by Trump. Interesting.
Yeah, right.
Let's just go back to.
Oh yeah, another get-togethers, I guess too, would be the freaking RNC and Trump already has enough of a lead on everybody else that really all they're doing is fighting for second place. Can we just already just end that already? Just
save
end
the money.
save the money in the primaries. So everyone knows Trump's going to win it, at least from the Republican side. And let's just start moving forward with that.
And what's so sad is, man.
Yeah, such a huge lead. Like none of them are like if you add them all up together, they're still not going to catch up to them.
No matter what poll you release on top of that, Biden's latest approval ratings on most things he's handled are in the teens as far as a percent, less than 20%. Oh, it was crazy. Like some of Trump's lowest were ever 44%. So almost 3 times that. Because math.
Yeah, because math.
All right. Well, I have 2 get it togethers. My first one. My first one was the Supreme Court for this past Friday announcing, after everyone else had stopped watching TV and didn't care about the news, coming out this past Friday and saying, oh no, it's okay for the Biden administration to be contacting social media and asking them to take down things off of their social media platforms.
Really? I didn't catch that.
This past Friday, they literally waited until Friday, days ago, when everyone had stopped watching TV.
Doesn't that go against our free speech?
It does, except that the Biden administration is simply being allowed to ask these different platforms to do it, where these are the same platforms that took down lots of things about biolabs and COVID-19 questions and other things
about
that have
Hunter Biden's laptop,
about all these things that have been proven, like Epstein. Yeah, all these things. So that's my first one is get it together, Supreme Court. Like, let's be forthright and do it when people can actually acknowledge it. Because people still haven't recovered. Everyone got drunk this weekend, I think. And then my second one, this one actually kills me more being a parent. And that is for New York. Kicking students out of school, making them do remote schools. I know you've heard about this one. So, and making them take days off so they can bring homeless into the schools. Wait a minute. This was never part of the... So at what point do civilians paying the tax dollars that voted in, to your point, they voted in these politicians, New York being another state, much like California and in particular San Francisco, they voted in these people and now their kids are being forced out of school, and everyone has seen the results. Remote schooling, online schooling can be effective, particularly with certain students, but it does not have the positive social impacts that actually going to school do. So we're tearing that away from these people. We're unstabilizing our youth once again to put in illegals or homeless or anyone else. This is absurd. Like, what happened to our future? And I don't know that people can just simply see this is not sustainable. So those are my 2 get-togethers.
Yeah, even it's bad when Elon Musk comments on that.
Well, dude, that's it though. Like, of all the people that have commented on it, he's got more kids than anyone I know. I value his opinion. And I'm being 100% sincere there.
Yeah, I forgot about that one. That should have been my get it together.
Restaurant Review.
This week's restaurant review, and there's multiple different names. So we went to Zigzag's Burgers, and it's still known though also as Zigzag's Meatball Eatery. And for myself, I had the Bubba Blue Burger. Man, I'll tell you what, the Bubba Blue Burger with fries, fantastic, delicious. The blue cheese, if you do not like, and then I say, like, if you not love your blue cheese, do not get this hamburger. The blue cheese is that pungent. So for a blue cheese lover, much like myself, this burger was a 10. The price wasn't bad, $14. Let me double check my receipt here. $14.95. And then, of course, I had a draft Coriolis effect for another $6. Man, I felt like I was winning, rolling out of there, particularly because the fries were dynamite. You know, the fries are good when you eat a giant hamburger. We're talking about a half-pound patty, delicious bun, blue cheese, bacon. Oh, the bacon was cooked to perfection. And it comes with dipping sauces, of course. But after you eat that giant burger and there's still fries, you eat every single fry that is possibly edible. That is actually what I did. So for me, the food, I'm giving the food a 10. I have never had a bad experience with the food there. The service, I thought the service was actually really good, not quite a 10, but the service was a 9. The outside environment, the parking lot isn't my favorite, but it's still not a nightmare. And even in the evenings, it is well lit. It gets a solid 8. The atmosphere inside, man, I feel like they do a great job keeping this lively, fun, the way it's set up. The bar, I actually do like the meatball eatery side better than the hamburger bar side. But still, the atmosphere for me is a solid 8. The only thing that would make it a 9 is if they changed the entrance a little bit and made the hostess and such a little more secluded, a little less obvious, and so that every time the door was open, you didn't quite feel the heat or the lack thereof heat. For me, and I know you've got different pieces you're going to bring into this. Is this a destination? And I'm going to start there. This is the opposite. Is this a destination? Well, for me, yes, it is. If I am going for, in particular, what I believe you're going to talk about, which is the meatball charcuterie plate, man, dynamite, but also great, good wine selection, great drink selection, with all those things, and also well located. Location does make a difference. Would I take a date there? Yes. Would I meet a friend there? Yes. And so overall, the restaurant does get a 9 from me.
All right. Well, for me, the parking, the outside of it, it has like 2 names. It does say Zigzags, Smoking Burgers, and then it also says Meatball Eatery on there. So it looks like it's like one building with 2 establishments on the inside is what I guess. But it does have 2 names on there on the outside. The outside of the building actually doesn't look that bad. The parking lot is actually not that bad of a parking lot. Like you actually got spaces to park and stuff like that. The one thing is a little bit of a drawback is actually getting to the parking lot. Because you do have to go up, I think, turn on to Clinton and then go through like almost like a Target, like the back end of a Target parking lot to get there. So
yeah, if you're not coming from Arapahoe, if you're coming from Clinton, you have to go through the Target parking lot.
So it's kind of like I don't know, like getting to the actual parking lot is a little bit of a chore, but not like that big of one. But even like right where it's at, those like basically like off of like I-25 in Arapahoe right there. So if you're not in the right lane, if you're driving on Arapahoe going eastbound, you can find it being a little bit difficult trying to get over and merging over into the right lane and stuff like that to get in. As far as so that's a little bit like that's kind of a nitpicky thing. So, but for the most part, it's the outside's nice, except for the Wendy's that's like right next door to it. That's all boarded up.
Multiple times now.
The inside, I think aesthetically the inside looks nice. My only issue is that every time I've been there, they have one section of the restaurant always blocked off. Like it's never open. They say that they open it once in a while, but I've never seen it open.
That's the meatball side.
Yeah, and I would like to actually sit on the meatball side because it looks like it's pretty nice on the meatball side.
It's way cooler.
And but since I've never experienced the meatball side, all I've experienced is the zigzag side, and it always seems to be closed. I'm kind of I wouldn't give it a 10. I like to see the other side open once in a while. So and we went there on a Saturday. So
I'm right there with you. What the fuck? There was 2 groups sitting in there.
Yeah. I think on a Saturday it should be open, but yet it was still like roped off. So I'm giving that like a 7. The outside, I give that a 7 as well. I mean, like the food, I agree, it's a 10.
Dude, the food kicks ass.
So I Jesse usually, like when we go out and we do these restaurant reviews and stuff, most of the time he's the one who orders appetizers. So This time I ordered the appetizers. I got the meatball charcuterie, which comes with I'm not sure if it's a sourdough bread or what kind of bread it is, but it has like olive oil and some like herbs on there. It is so good. That bread is so good. And you dip it into this like mozzarella marinara sauce, which is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get 3 different types of meatballs. It's a total of 6 meatballs, but they're huge meatballs. And those were each one is great. I know you know this
2 beef, 2 pork, 2 shrimp.
Yeah. Like I know you get that quite a bit from that place.
So good.
And that food's excellent. Actually, that should just like if
That's where we should have stopped.
if I thought we were gonna all share it. I didn't ask anybody. I just did it. So I think if I would have asked, and if everyone's like, "Nah, we don't want an appetizer," I would have just stopped right there and just gotten that as my meal because that is excellent. But I didn't do that. I did get a burger, and I got the Surf and Turf burger, which is a half-pound burger topped with a shrimp cake, jack cheese with tartar sauce, pickles, tomatoes, and fries.
Fancy.
And honestly, because I think I might have been a little bit tipsy when I ordered this, I didn't fully read this correctly. I thought instead of like an actual hamburger, I was gonna get like a shrimp cake burger. But no, this happened to be a half-pound hamburger with a shrimp cake in there. So with the appetizer and the double patty thing here, I took like 3 bites of my burger. But that's just because I was so freaking full from eating the appetizer. So and the fries were divine. So yeah, I think the food is a 10 out of 10. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed the burger. Honestly, if I don't know if I'd order that particular burger again, because that is a lot of meat. Like if you're hungry, that's definitely going to be at least 2 meals for you, honestly. Because like even the shrimp cake was fairly large. But yeah, it was great. It was a great burger. I love the fries. I love the appetizer. The meatball charcuterie board is probably like my favorite thing there, just because of the bread you get with it that you dip in with the mozzarella balls and marinara. The wait staff, I don't know. I don't really recall them being good or bad, so I'm gonna give them an 8. Because obviously they didn't show up too often to where it bugged me, and then it wasn't like they were not there either, so they didn't bug me that way either. So I'm just gonna give them an 8. Is it a destination? Wow. I could see where it could be a destination. I'm not quite sure if I would label it a destination at this point in time. But I have gone there a couple of times on my own. But it's because it has like good burgers, and like on Sundays they have a burger deal on Sundays and stuff like that. It's like happy hour all day on Sunday.
And the meatball charcuterie platter.
For the meatball charcuterie platter, it definitely would be.
They actually have really good pasta too.
Do they? I haven't had the pasta yet. You need to go there. So I would say like if it's not a destination point, it's very close to being one for me. I'm on the teetering. I'm not really sure if I want to say yes to being destination. I'm not really sure I want to say no, it's not one. So I'm like right on the cusp there. I think I might have to go there a couple more times before I will label it a for sure destination spot. Date worthy, yes. I would say it is date worthy. However, I would like to see the fucking meatball. Sorry, I'd like to see the meatball eatery side.
The meatball eater side is sexier. The bar is dimly lit. Yeah, I like it better. It's less trendy, less fun, but more conservative and sophisticated.
Yeah, as well. It seemed like it also reminds me more of like an Italian restaurant where it has like stuff like Sinatra and shit, and stuff like that on the walls.
70s Playboy Club.
Yeah.
No, the lights and everything are cooler.
Yeah, so I really like. I think if I've eaten on that side, I might definitely give it a destination spot. But since it's always been closed every time I've been there, I really find it hard in that sense. But yeah, definitely, I think it's date worthy. Meet a friend there, yes. Overall, I think it's a good solid 9. Yeah, I just give it a good solid 9 there altogether. It's definitely worth the visit if you've never been.
Smarter challenges.
This week's Smarter Challenge. Ultimately, a movie review of Deep Cover, the 1992 American crime thriller starring, well, most notably Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum. Quick synopsis: Cincinnati-based police officer is sent to Los Angeles for part of a sting operation to take down a West Coast drug cartel, with which ultimately he finds, as Lawrence Fishburne is that police officer, a profiteer, potentially, Jeff Goldblum, working with the designer of a synthetic drug, which would be completely legal, and having to really, even though they don't say it throughout the movie, and the ending, spoiler alerts, would say something different, throughout the entire movie, he absolutely has to be questioning, why am I a fucking cop?
Right? So the reason why I picked this as a really great brief synopsis of it is because of the one quote that David said, which is Jeff Goldblum's character, to John, which is Larry Fishburne's character. And actually, Dave doesn't actually say it to John. He actually says it to Mr. Guzman, who happens to be a South American dignitary that happens to be a drug kingpin. And so David says, "No, Mr. Guzman, I think you know there is no such thing as Americans. No Hispanics, no Japanese, no blacks, no whites, no nothing. It's just rich people and poor people. The three of us are all rich, so we are all on the same side." And the reason why I had us watch Deep Cover, or why I had put this up as our smart challenge, really kind of considering and thinking about this particular quote, is because when we look at our society today, are we seeing that our society, is it rich versus poor, or have we gotten to such tribalism where it is blacks versus whites and whites versus whoever and Japanese or whatever? So just to begin to start this off, and we can go into other avenues if we want with this movie and our analysis with other stuff here. Would you say that we are more into a tribalistic society, or is Jeff Goldblum right? Is it really the rich versus the poor?
So it's very interesting that you bring it up in that sense. First of all, for myself and the masses, define a tribalistic society.
It's basically like you're grouping yourself, your group versus other groups.
All right. So this is where it's interesting, because throughout history, what we have seen is the rich trying to make us into groups. And you can cut it and chop it and divide it any way you want. But at the end of the day, the rich are the ones who are saying, yeah, so you've got 4 new genders this week, and one of them's frog she, and one of them's cat he, and one of them's horse it, and whatever they may be.
Horse shit?
It.
Oh,
horse it.
No,
yeah,
okay. No, I thought you said horse shit.
Like a robot. And so with that, what the end of the day is, you just got to take a step back, think a week behind, and say, hey, are we learning from history? Most people can't. Most people won't. Most people can literally not comprehend current situations. Look at the recent history. And when I say recent, this could be 50, it could be 40, 30, 20, it could be 100 years, it could be 3,000 years if you're talking about ancient aliens and Egyptians and pyramids. But with that, at the end of the day, I don't know so much that it's the rich versus the poor, but it is absolutely the rich knowing they need the poor to keep being in a position so they can continue to be more and more rich. Because at the end of the day, the population will continue to grow and they want their piece of that puzzle. Prime example is, we've talked about this on previous shows. If all of a sudden everyone was rich, every tee time at every golf course would be booked 5 years in advance. No one's rich anymore. And it ruins everything for the people who wanted this to be something special. So ultimately, because of different experiences that should be great or can be greater, whether or not they should be great, are great to certain individuals, there has to be a pricing line where things continue. So, interesting article rolled out this past week, and that is, man, the last 5 years have been better for one economic group better than any other. And you know what that is?
Tell me, you like me.
The Billionaire Club. It's no longer about the Millionaire Club or the 10 Millionaire Club or the 100 Millionaire Club. The last 5 years have made the billionaires even richer. And with that, everyone else has felt a strain, right down to what we used to consider upper class, making $200,000 a year for a family. They're feeling the strain as much as anyone else because housing went up that much and insurance went up that much. And even though gas somehow was magically coming down, electricity is going up, and yet we burn natural gas to create our current electricity.
Just to sum it up here, because we could go on this for a while.
To sum it up, the billionaires have continued to profit, whether or not there's a them versus us. There is absolutely a situation where there is a higher end group that will always profit.
Yeah, so I do actually agree with what David says here. It is the rich versus the poor. And honestly, I think he's right. There is no black, as far as like what the wealthy are concerning, like, or what you're talking about here, the Billionaire Club. There is no blacks, there is no whites, there is no Americans. It's just the rich versus the poor. And they use the poor, and they use the whole that tribalistic mindset to have them fight against each other, so that way they can't claw themselves out and become and affect their Billionaire Club anymore.
I'm not going to say versus. I'm not going to say I agree with them versus, but I will say is them using, because of a pretense of these individuals may think they're educated. They can't figure out how to use the past to explain their present, which would be my first argument of, I don't agree with that. But the second piece is, as you just mentioned, they are dissecting our socio-economic situation into groups again, and races totally is what it is. But furthermore, how do you devalue someone who thought they were educated? Just a thought. This is really it. This is the whole summation of this for me. You tell them that they went and bought an education that was so meaningless, it should be free and the president should be giving it to you.
I think that's how most college degrees are nowadays.
So if you can accept that, then you can accept your degree was that worthless. You don't feel you were ever worth it in the first place. You shouldn't have ever gone to college. My 100% belief, like if you don't think you should be paying for that because you benefited and you should be making more because of that, and you're fighting to make more, just like you partied in school, you should be fighting in the job force to make that more money, then guess what? They were right. It should have been free because you didn't learn anything you didn't learn in high school.
Yeah, well, I think some of those majors are like that.
It's not even the majors. It's the fact that you have a president of the United States telling the masses, you guys all went to college. It should be free. I want to forgive all your debts. What is that saying? It means,
well, I think we're going off track here from the movie.
Right. But they've just all been put into a group of you're all poor. Even the people that they're trying to say are the blacks or the Hispanics or the whites. You're all in the same group. We're dissecting you. We're separating you because we don't want you to think that these people aren't benefiting. But you're all in the same group because you're all poor and pieces of uneducated human life.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
That's the poor. That ultimately is the poor. It's not that the rich are against the poor, but I think they are absolutely oppressing them.
Oh yeah, they are oppressing them. It's been happening throughout history.
Give them dreams. Hey, you guys.
So is there? So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure where you want to go from here on this, but I mean, honestly, I do believe like there's that reality to there. Like as far as like, and it doesn't matter how you get to be wealthy. I think that's another thing about this movie, like that it talks about, right? Because you said he questions about like why was I ever a cop? Like I think he even says something about like I've been more of a drug dealer, I've killed more people than I've ever been a cop, and like I'm good at it, right?
You're great at it.
And here's the thing: is like, does it like and when you start looking at some of these like billionaires or like these other people, they have I think there's a study that came out saying that they have some kind of they're similar to like a
Sociopath.
Sociopath. There we go. Yeah. I want to say I was about to say psychotic, but no, sociopath. But yeah, sociopaths. And I think there's a lot of truth to it. And it doesn't really matter how they made their money, but they all become good at it, right? So the way he made his money, it wasn't like probably the best way to do it. But who says like the way some of these businesses handle their business, these large corporations, and what they do to the separated groups, they squander a lot of them too.
I don't disagree. I struggle every day with people who come into work who leave work early because they're scared or this or that or the other, who don't show up as a leader in particular. And what the hell? Like, this is weakness. It's one of these things where we're promoting people. You can do anything. Once again, and guess what? You're not going to be an astronaut. You shouldn't have ever been a leader. You had to go home because you were scared. Get the hell out of here. If I am a SEAL captain choosing my SEAL team, or if I'm a SEAL team member, Navy SEAL, by the way, as a Navy SEAL member, if I'm picking my team, most people I work with as leaders, would not be on that team, and they would be surprised. And then it's like, you left me alone when I needed you. You went home because you were scared. You're supposed to be preserving the freedom of America. Where the hell where's your head? Well, we won't go there.
All right. So we'll take here's another quote from the movie, and I guess we take our kind of points of view on this one. So this is David actually talking to John. So Jeff Goldblum's
talking to Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep. Where he says, "Forget this Judeo-Christian bullshit.
Oh, I remember this one.
The same people that taught us virtue are the very same ones who enslaved us."
It's 100% true. And it's literally what I'm talking about. You give people a dream, but then you also separate them. So you're a slave, but we're going to free you.
I totally agree with this. I always thought of like one of my big things with history and the way I've always saw how religion was done is that they tell the masses, hey, you do everything right here while you're alive. You follow all the rules. When you die, you're going to go to heaven and you'll live in Eden. And you'll have the perfect life when you die and go to heaven or whatever. Wife, life, whatever.
Poor taste of a joke.
So I do believe that, right? I think it's very true that like these people who tell us how we should act a certain way are the same ones that enslave us to do their bidding, and I think it helps control the masses to that sense.
Well, 100%. Let me give you another example of what you just talked about, which is biblical, and so therefore religious, has a therefore believed super long standing history of truth, immediately believable, of course, right? That's like the whole point. We're going to go back to the movie The Island you recently had us watch, and it's literally a lottery, and it's no different than a lottery. How many people do you know, I know zero, that ever won a lottery and lived to tell about it?
None.
They all blow their money and die. Those are the ones that you hear about. Nobody else is like, this was great. I actually won the lottery. Life's the best ever. No, you don't hear about those people. You know why? Because it's a facade. It's a dream that is put out there. And I think that's what's brilliant about that movie, The Island, is it points out, hey, guess what? You can win the lottery. You're going to get out of this shithole. Doesn't mean you're free.
Exactly. And I think also you brought a great point too earlier when you're talking about robot it or whatever, horse it and panda she or whatever. Dolphin dog, whatever like pronouns or whatever they want to use. They're being taught, right? They're passing this whole virtue thing of like you could be whatever you want to be. It's a gender fluid thing, all this stuff, and by that, right, they're giving that virtue signaling of it, but at the same time, now everyone becomes enslaved by it because now if you say like these same people who push this narrative, they also are enslaved by it because now if you start throwing those same things back at them, then it's almost like they have like a malfunction in their brain to where like, oh, like you can't say that to me because now I see myself as this, and then they're like because they can't be upset even though like they're upset with you when
skipping the whole pronoun thing because the pronoun is still English and we don't want to avoid out the fact that English is still mathematically a language. But going to the simple point of my point, which is I'm a dolphin dog or whatever it may be, at what point when we let people choose their identifiers, is it okay to be, well, I'm a pacifist or you know what? This person is a Jesus Christ figure. So now we're giving all these different tunes to it. So then all of a sudden, though, when someone's like, well, I'm a racist. Oh, that's not okay. Well, how is it okay for you to be a pacifist?
right?
Like, why is my identifier not okay? Oh, because we've deemed that bad. So it is no different than one of my get it togethers, which is the Supreme Court saying, hey, it's okay for these people to ultimately pressure social media to shut down possible truths.
Yeah, exactly. All right, one more quote for us to talk about here, and then I don't know unless there's another one that you want to talk about, but I thought this one was a great one from John Hall, Fishburne's character.
Yeah.
The jungle's creed says the strongest feed on any prey that it can, and I was branded a beast at every feast before I ever became a man. What do you think of that one?
I think it's great because it literally is his own psyche telling him it's okay to be an animal because you were already considered that before you had to decide what it meant to be a man. At the end of the movie, he proves quite the opposite, that he absolutely is a man with a code. However, leading through the base of this movie is this, some people might call it a midlife crisis. He's going through and saying, okay, so I'm supposed to bring down this whole West Coast drug cartel. And yet, man, I'm good at this. Like, also, my favorite parts of the movie are all of the fashion. Like, I loved the fashion in this movie. And that's tough to really consider that is truth. Like, nobody wants to say it, but how you look matters, how you dress matters, what do you relate to matters. And that's why if someone wants to tell me they're a dolphin dog, I'm like, okay, all right, well, next time I'll try not to call you him or her. It'll be dolphin dog, whatever it may be. Like I really do try. But then you got to be questioning the next guy who comes up is like, you just going to call me master boy? All right, master. Like, at what point do people not understand there was a reason for the simplistic? And that is because at some point you will meet your match.
You will. I agree. Here, like, when you see this movie, like him growing up at the beginning of the movie, right? You see his dad, who's a thief, maybe an alcoholic thief or whatever. But he goes into a liquor store and robs a liquor store. Ends up getting shot, and then he has like that blood money, right? And then he goes, and the guy, his recruiter for the State Department or whoever it was, maybe it's FBI, I forget what agency it was, but one of the questions says, he's like, "What's the difference between a black man and the N-word?"
Yeah,
and
it's one of the most famous quotes.
And the guy, and he's like, "Well," and he goes through and all that. But I think right there, that kind of shows like he's already been seen as a beast, and because he's already been seen as a beast, and when he started going into that whole like avenue of looking at the drug underworld, that is a jungle, and you do have, like, you're either a predator or you're a prey. Either you're the ones who are selling it and you're making gains, or you're the prey who are buying it and you're succumbing to the drugs. And I think that's really kind of a powerful line right there, going up to that part to the end, what you're talking about too, when he like plays the his handler, if you will, and he still walks away with the money, he still walks away on top, and still walks away being wealthy. That's where he became a man. And so I think that's like that line kind of plays really well throughout that whole scene right there. And honestly, one of the questions I had to ponder a lot throughout this movie is, one, would I have like followed through with Jeff Goldblum and go along with the synthetic drugs if I got to that point with him? And I would almost venture to say yes.
So for me,
I'm not saying definitely yes. I'm saying I would probably be leaning a heavy yes.
For me, the opposite would be the case, only because, dude, it's only a matter of days before this thing hits the market and it becomes illegal too.
You don't know, but right now it's legal.
Yeah, but that's the pipe dream, is that, oh, this is legal, so you're not going to go to prison. Guess what? You got one shot then, and then after that, you're going to prison. Pipe dream. So
make your bank while you can, in this case.
I'm going to take an artistic approach.
Okay.
And this is a quote from John. So now, again, we're talking about Lawrence Fishburne's character. And he's talking to Betty, who was the female.
Ethnic art person?
Yes. Do you know anything about ethnic art? So John Hull goes to her and he's like, holds up a mask. How much is this? And she's like, do you know anything about ethnic art? Have you ever been in a store like this? See, we don't put price tags on our merchandise, so if you have to ask, then you obviously can't afford it. And this was the brilliant piece here. And this is true in all aspects of life. And his response is very simple. In that case, I'll take two. And at the end of the day, that is the difference in many ways. In other words, he already had his hands on it. So it's not about asking or not asking. It's about, I want this, and I will do whatever it takes to get it. I'll take two.
Yeah.
In other words, he would kill her in some circles to get two of those masks.
Looking at it from another aspect that maybe a lot of people might be able to relate to is when you go to a restaurant and you look at something on the menu and it says it's fair market price. Like, obviously, if you can't afford it, then you're not going to order that.
The truth of the matter is, the right thing to do is, if you have any question, ask, what is the fair market price? And guess what? If they can't tell you, nobody's buying it because it's probably not that good. So there are two sides to that, which is one thing I would say. But I also fully 100% agree with you. There have been times where I've been like, full market price, yeah, I want the whole goddamn seafood tower. She's worth it. Whatever fair market price is, it was like $500. Still worth it.
So that
I knew I could afford it.
Yeah, but you knew you could afford it. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's to put it into terms like people might relate to you better. That's almost kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, I knew going into that dinner, I just didn't want to spend more than $5,000. $500 was worth it.
So yeah, I don't really have anything else to really talk about this movie. I liked it. Growing up, I thought it was a lot more impactful than it was rewatching it. I don't think it really. I think so. There's still a lot of truths that holds in there. A lot of great one-liners. But I don't know. Is there anything else you want to talk about with this movie or society that relate to it?
It was good to revisit. it was great to revisit. Part of it because, man, we should all be able to dress the way we want. If you can afford it, you can. And that was one thing that I really considered during this movie is, man, I love wearing a jacket. I love wearing a suit. I love wearing ties. All of this takes time. Most people will not appreciate it. Very few will. The very few are the only ones I care about. And at the end of the day, there are also those days when you're just wearing a sweater and you're chilling, cashmere sweater, by the way, and you're relaxing and you're enjoying life. And those days are great too. But it's this piece of your own self-worth. And I think that is the piece to me that this movie really described. You've got John and David, so Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum, and their own self-worth. And at the end of the day, the man who was the man was Lawrence Fishburne. Jeff Goldblum was still stuck in this boyish world, thinking that some synthetic drug was going to be his forever future, and that's bullshit. And Lawrence Fishburne, in my mind, knew that from the get-go, but was along for the ride because guess what, man? This is a sweet fucking life.
I do think that maybe David, his character, Jeff Goldblum, might have seen that as his Shangri-La. But I don't
prize pony. This was his triple crown.
Yeah, but I think honestly, I don't know if he thought it would never be illegal. I think the point was that it would be legal currently, and they can make bank right away off of it and take over the cocaine trade until it became illegal.
But you and I both know, how long does that take? A week. Maybe 3 months.
Maybe 3 months. Maybe a couple of years. It just depends on how quickly it goes through.
Dude, if you can make it 3 months just selling the cocaine, you're better off. Because then you didn't invest all this money in a synthetic drug, and you got all the profits anyway. Like, it's all about an opportunity cost. And at the end of the day, again, Lawrence Fishburne was trying to do the right thing. And he wasn't trying to screw kids and people and ruin lives in America. The same as Jeff Goldblum was like, I don't give a shit about anyone. I just want to make money. And that's just it. He was a kid. He was like mentally a child, whereas Lawrence Fishburne, I do think, was a man and walked out of this movie. I did what needed to be done.
He did.
It didn't stop anything long term, but it slowed things short term.
Yeah. So I would say definitely check out this movie. I also think because of the way you see the workings of and some of the quotes there, you can tell that there was there was racial division, but yet at the same time, it also kind of shows that really that division isn't necessarily really, I think that division is more towards, in my opinion, the rich versus the poor, or maybe the rich utilizing the poor. But it's a good movie. I think everyone should just check it out. Either for artistic purposes, checking out the different fashion from back then, which was like really nice.
Dude, I love the double-breasted suits, especially the 4-button and 6-button English suits. Like, oh, hell yeah.
I mean, I loved some of the dialogue in there, too.
The dialogue is great, and they kept it simple. And it's interesting because I think that will ultimately become another piece of a smarter challenge in the future of what does it mean to be direct with communication versus give metaphors.
And then also, I thought his character arc, John's character, his character arc was actually pretty decent in there.
Ultimately, is the question, because what we don't know is where he really started.
Yeah, I mean, we saw his
we know
childhood.
His mom was a piece of work, and his life was.
And his dad wasn't all that great either.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what's our topic for next week?
Next week's Smarter Challenge: why it's important not to overcommit. We got to come up with 3 examples each. And this can be from a movie, a book, real life, whatever you want. But I've got, really look at movies and books articles, stories, and fables, the Bible. Why is it important not to overcommit? And ultimately, though, here's the juxtaposition, and that is bringing in yet, while not overcommitting, still commit enough to keep the interest of the other party. So in other words, yeah, I can't say anything. I was just going to say it was all sexual. So don't overcommit, but keep them interested enough.
All right.
That was so wrong. I just realized, right? I was about to spit it out. I shouldn't say any of that. All right. So until next week, actually next week, I believe what we're going to do, it could be one or the other. It may be a coin toss. We're either going to do the Glenfiddich Grand Cru. Man, it's a badass scotch. Or we're going to do one of the Octomores.
Oh, you got it. Oh, okay.
So with the Octomore, super heavily peated, super rare. So I'll figure it out in the next week if we're going to do the Glenfiddich or if we're going to coin toss for an Octomore, because the Octomores are just as hard to find as that Grand Cru nowadays.
Yeah, it is. All right. Well, thank you everyone who watched us to this point. We thank all the subscribers on YouTube and Rumble and all the viewers on YouTube and Rumble, as well as all the listeners and subscribers on the many different podcast platforms. We greatly appreciate all of you as well. Please like, share, subscribe, leave any comments down below. We greatly appreciate that. And Jesse's going to close us out.
All right. Remember, life should be about adventure. And adventure doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a trip to Mexico or Ireland or, well, for the brave and bold, Russia at this current time, the Ukraine. But what it can mean is you're just taking an adventure in your own mind and really consider what is important to you. Are you taking the right steps long term? Value isn't always some crazy adventure to Scotland to try scotch at the Bruichladdich distillery, although that would be badass. But it might be simply, hey, I want to take a moment to figure out what is going to make my life better for the rest of the year, this first month of the year. And actually, that would be more value added than its predecessor. So consider that. Remember, drink responsibly. Please do not drink too much and drive. And also remember,
don't drink and drive.
Well, you can drink Diet Coke and drive.
Don't drink alcohol and drive.
Don't drink alcohol and drive. And until next week. Scotchman! Cheers.
We hope you enjoyed this evening's episode of Scotch Hour. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you have not done so already, please become a Patron member, with memberships starting as low as $1 a month. Thank you, and hopefully you have a wonderful evening.